So. Good evening.
That was epic. I want to be Norwegian. How cool was
that? That was the most epic entry ever to a Blether. Hopefully it's not downhill from here on in.
Can we have something similar for our just weekly Blether? Can we just do like a sort of Blether version of that?
We'll just, I'm not sure what we'll do, like fall down Benny or something like that in the snow.
Yeah, you driving a sled with like your dogs, your spaniels, and me with my hair wafting in the wind. That's really cool.
I don't think there's enough video in the world to film your hair wafting in the wind. There's not a screen big enough for all that.
That was an awesome video, though. I absolutely love that. How cool.
That is pretty cool. So, yeah, that was our intro. Don't get used to it. Unfortunately, not everyone sent us an epic intro. So, yeah, there's a wee clue as to who our guest is. Our guests are tonight, all the way over from Norway, and it's going to be great fun. Kat, you're not drinking tonight, are you? You're not getting to enjoy. So there's no point in asking what's in your crafts.
No, I've just got tea. Although my dad brought me a really interesting bottle of whiskey I can show you, but I can't drink it.
I saw that. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I mean, I really want to try the whiskey that you've got tonight, but I didn't manage to get him past the shop in time to pick it up. But look at that one. It's called Pokemon. Pokemon. It's not called Pokemon at all. It's called Pokemon. Pokemon.
That'd be a great series of whiskey because people would just have to get them all.
You've got to catch them all. That's kind of cool. My dad just moved over from New Zealand, moved back to Scotland on Tuesday. So I went to pick him up from the airport and he brought me that. So we're going to use it as a housewarming dram for him. But it's got the Manuka smoked malt that Woven use in their hemispheres.
Ah, right. That's cool. Oh, that's such a good whiskey. We've got them coming to the shop on Saturday.
I love it so much. It's really good.
Good stuff. Well, yeah, we'll talk about my dram a bit later. I'm going to warm up with the last release, which is the Midgard from the Bifrost series, which is the sherry cask, which is... See, I've already had a dram or two out of it. I actually nabbed this from the shop this morning, tasting stock. So that's going to be my warm up before the big reveal.
I'm so gutted. Like I'm literally, this is my bedside reading just now. Like imagine how epic a dram would be with my book just now. I'm all over the Norse mythologies now. So I'm gonna come and get that bottle.
Is that Mjolnir, the hammer, Thor's hammer, whatever it's called? I don't know. We'll get one of the guys to.
Let's get the experts to tell us the pronunciation.
Yeah, I'm terrible. Most of my Norse mythology comes from Marvel movies, so I'm terrible at that. Yeah, there's no point typing it, Frank. I can't pronounce that anyway. So we've got who have we got watching? We've got Karen, our new friend and employee, Karen McWilliams, on watching. Good evening, Karen.
Oh, hello.
Charlie is complaining that she didn't get an epic video. Charlie, if you make it, we will show it. That's what it comes down to. We've got Jeremy on Facebook. We've got Rob Smith. We've got Frank at Peterhead. We've got Reb, Mordecai. Hi, Reb. It's been good to chat to you through the week. Dave is still on the water. Still not quite back to alcohol yet. Hopefully soon, Dave. Tim Powells is on. Dave Muir, who will be like a prune just now because he sent me a picture of his foot in the bath about an hour ago. Who else have we got? That seems to be most of the guys commenting. Guys, please do say hello. It's great to hear from you. Let us know what's in your glass. Dutch Jura is also in as well. Charlie, she's got a new whiskey coming out, so she wants to join us for a blether.
100%.
Absolutely. We are going to bring on our guests now. So let's get the guys in. We can welcome Tor and we welcome Colin. And I always love it when that works first time. Excellent. Thank you very much for joining us, guys.
Hi. Nice to be here.
How are you both?
Yeah, very well, thanks. Yeah,
very well. Yeah, I love the book, Kat.
Yes.
Oh, he's got it as well.
No way. Oh, I just took off my price sticker because I thought I'm going to show it on camera. So I took my
got one as well. Anyway,
we should start a book club. This could be a weekly thing.
No, I've read it many times. Actually, I just had it here, so it was funny that you had it.
Yeah, I know.
Colin's got it too.
Oh,
He's got the green version. What's the difference?
Oh no, it's black. I think
black.
They just they kind of re-release it every Christmas, don't they, or every year? And I think sometimes it's white and sometimes it's black, but it's one of those ones you can just like dip in and out of. So it was getting all cold last week, and I thought, oh, I'm going to go and get my book. So yeah, nice coincidence.
Yeah.
You have to ask your Secret Santa, Mike, for a copy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the hammer on the front, that's Mjolnir.
That's the guy. Yeah, that's him.
Yeah. So you weren't close, Mike.
What did I can't remember. It's one of these words that I pronounce differently every single time I say it. So maybe once I've been right. Yeah. That's not like a dying cat.
That's far from it. Mjolnir.
I'm going to stop trying.
We're going to let you do it all day.
I don't have to pronounce anything right tonight. I'm all right.
Yeah, we'll let you do the proper pronunciations. We'll not butcher that anymore.
Although Colin did say before we went live that in order for you, Kat, to get the whiskey, you have to pronounce it correctly. So there you go. You can have a stab at this one.
Yggdrasil?
Ooh,
I don't know.
Not bad. Yeah.
Is it close?
Close.
I thought. Is it Yggdrasil?
Oh, that's really good pronunciation. Really good. Yggdrasil. So that's super cool. That's almost spot on, Mike.
Well, you don't get to keep my whiskey just because you got it right.
And I did, before I started telling the guys at the shop it was coming in, I did a Google Translate pronunciation, so I did cheat a little bit.
Oh, okay.
So we have some guys saying hello. We've got Frode. He's saying the Gaiman book should be black.
Oh,
yeah, there we go. So, Kat, you've got the wrong book.
So that's the story of my life.
So I assume Frode is in Norway. We've got Charlie in Norway. We've got Jeremy who's in Norway. So some great stuff.
We're outnumbered tonight, Mike. I think Norway's taken over.
Norwegians are back. They're coming.
And
we were over there 1,000 years ago, and we're coming back.
if you could be just a little bit nicer this time, we would really appreciate that.
I had a group of Norwegians in it. Obviously, I work at Glengeary. Take a drink, everyone, if you're playing the game tonight. And I had this lovely group of Norwegian guys, and I think it was maybe last summer. And I can't remember how we got onto it. It's because we speak Doric in Aberdeenshire, which has got elements of like Norwegian and Swedish in there. Like it's like similarities. So we're speaking about this, and like obviously with the Vikings, we kind of traded languages. And he said, yeah, we used to come steal your woman, but now there's rules. I'm like, yeah, now there's rules.
Yeah, God, I miss the old days.
Do you know? I think depending on the crowd, some of us would be easily stolen, to be honest. But that's a different chat for a different occasion.
That's true.
We have Jeremy Watts at home with Sam tonight. He's in Sam loves our Nine Worlds bottles, which is, for the guys who are watching, in Norse mythology, this is the kind of Nine Worlds of the Bifrost is the overall world, isn't it?
But
Bifrost
is what connects the worlds.
Yeah.
In the Norse.
Is it Udenheim? You call it Udenheim? What's that? That's got something to do with it, doesn't it?
Jotunheim.
Yeah.
Jotunheim is one of the worlds. That's what
one
it
of the
means. Yeah.
There you go. See, I pick up words from Marvel movies, and I think, I know a little bit. Yeah. It's terrible. But these bottlings have been great because every time we release one, I like to read about what the world is or what it means, or so I've been building up a little bit of knowledge on them. So this release has just come out. You guys sold out in about 6 minutes. Is that right?
Yeah. It went very fast, even though it went very fast in Norway, at least. It went sold out in the first round was sold out relatively fast. And we also had some in some airports. They also sold out relatively fast. I think there's still some available in some German web shops and some Dutch web shops. So there are still availability, but we released 9,000 bottles, which is a large number for a small company like us.
Yes.
So,
that's amazing. Awesome. So you've obviously built quite a fan base already. Do you think it's sort of the fact that you're quite new and obviously it's a collection and people like to collect? Do you think that's part of it, that once they've got one, they want to have the full collection?
Colin, you want to say something?
Yeah, I think it's not about people buying it for collecting. I hope it's people buying it to enjoy it. And I think with the whole Nine Worlds, we decided, I think when we started, we hadn't got a clue what our spirit was going to be like. We hadn't got a clue what cast to put that spirit in and everything else. So we decided to be experimental, that each release of these Nine Worlds would be different. So there's different, there's different yeasts, different barleys, there's different casks, and we just sort of putting it all together. And it was sort of experimentation. We wanted people to actually try them, to feed back to us, to say which one they liked and which was their favorite and such like, not just buy it and stick it on a shelf. That doesn't help us at all, So it is very much experimental and has steered the direction. You'll find that from Midgard to Yggdrasil, there is a common DNA within that, because the Midgard came from the original release, the Niflheim, which had a high proportion of sherry cask within it. And we've tried a whole lot of others, and we've gone back to people saying, I really love the first one. So we've gone back to that with Midgard. People say, love it, great, 100% sherry. And the Yggdrasil is a slight variation on that, but it has that commonality. So the Nine Worlds was part of steering and directing where we're going to go.
It was a strategy we laid down in 2018, 2019, when we knew in order to survive as a small business, and you guys are knowledgeable in the whiskey industry, you know that it's a very expensive industry.
Yeah.
And in order to survive, we had to come to the market with relatively young whiskey, and we decided to make a series out of it, to make it more interesting. And we put a lot of work into it. We didn't compromise anything. We laid a lot of work in matching the mythology, the stories with the colors, with the graphics, with the taste, with the cask, with everything is connected in all of these 9 words. So we're quite proud that we actually went through it, the whole series, with a thinking like that. And I don't think everybody understands how much work we have
considering
put
like, because you guys are using like really cool old school, you know, you're experimenting with some really fun things, like, and you can maybe explain more about it, like your yeast strain. You use a sort of a wild yeast strain that's like particular to different farms. Is that right? I was kind of geeking out a little bit in the hairdressers earlier, trying to figure out, like, to read more about it, and you know, experimenting with like sort of homegrown barley, like lots of really cool kind of old school distillation practices. So you definitely took the longer path, you know, for releasing spirit. You're not doing anything quick, but it's all for flavor creation, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we do have, I mean, Tor will probably talk about this, but we've been working for about 5 years now with local farmers growing barley in the most northerly barley fields of the year. It's surprising we can grow barley because at the moment the guys have got snow up there. Snow came probably about a month ago, started really cold. The snow will disappear around about May, early May, late May. You start sowing the barley seed and you harvest in August. And it grows with the midnight sun, so it grows at double speed.
but
August.
But you have to kind of work with the elements. That's the whole point of living up here. Like for the Arctic barley, which we are using together with these 2 farmers, last year's summer was a tragedy. It was so bad, you know, for growing up here. So we got a very minuscule harvest last year, and they had to harvest. They had to wait until early October for the harvest, and they didn't get the seed in until late June. I mean, in middle of May, it was still snow, you know. So, but this year it was the total opposite. They could put down all the seeds in May, and they could harvest in the middle of August, which is, you know, unheard of. Blame it on, you know, global heating or whatever, but it's changed, its variations from year to year. But that's also super cool to work with, you know, to acknowledge that, okay, this is the part of the world we're living in, and we just have to live.
It's we're all in the hands of Mother Nature, aren't we? To an extent, and especially you guys are the northernmost distillery in the world, and obviously you're talking about some of the challenges, weather-wise, but as well in kind of distribution and transport. That must be a hell of an issue as well. Planning must be.
Only yesterday, because we got snow early this year, last week we got actually almost 1 meter of snow just in a couple of days. So and then there's something with the temperature. So yesterday it was slippery as hell down to the distillery, and there's kind of a steep downhill there. So some guests, they were in a minibus straight off the road, tractor up. I had to drag them out, and 5 minutes later, another tourist straight off the road in exactly the same spot. So we had to rescue her again, and that is also has happened quite a few times, you know, with trailers, and that is scary shit, you know, when you got big trailers sliding off the road when delivering bottles, etc. So what we have tried to do for that particular case is that we try to get most of our deliveries, the large deliveries, like containers of casks, containers of bottles, containers of paper, packaging, etc. We try to do that in the season where we have where we don't have snow, and just have it there. But when it comes to distribution, like you talked about, Mike, it's surprisingly cheap transport, actually.
Okay.
Transport is a competitive business industry, and the prices are not what you might expect to send something from here down to Central Europe. We have also, as we do exports and we want to expand in exports, we have established a company down in Amsterdam, which will handle all distribution from there. So what we started this year in summer actually is to send large shipments of goods down to Amsterdam, where we have a bonded warehouse and distribution goes from the company there. So there are ways. You just have to figure out how to deal with it. You know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different world, isn't it? Absolutely. Mordecai has put in a question. I was interested to ask as well. Just in the changes in kind of where you are compared to kind of Scotland. You know, worldwide, we're known as kind of having ideal whiskey conditions. In terms of the Angels share, in comparison to Scotland, what do the Angels get up to with you?
First of all, we have to address the issue. Up here, it's not Angel's share; it's Odin's share. Because Odin is the top god, and he deserves, the evaporation.
That's a wee offering for him, is it?
No, we have done. We have, of course, we know a little bit more about them. We have about the same share as in Scotland, actually.
Okay.
So it's about between 1.5 to 2%.
Okay.
Does the cold affect anything to do with in terms of production? I guess you've obviously heated the distillery and things, and everything's hot inside the distillery. But even knowing, on really cold days up here, sometimes fermentation can be a bit slower, or with the floor malting, if you're malting the barley, germination might happen a bit slower. So is it an impact at all, or is it just part of the norm?
Not for the production itself, not for the fermentation. I mean, the fermentation takes place inside, so that doesn't affect it. What you might say is that maturation is it is not the same as in heated countries, of course. I visited Dalwhinnie Distillery in the Highlands.
Okay.
And their unique selling point was that they were the coldest distillery in Scotland.
Yeah.
They had an average yearly temperature of 6 degrees Celsius. Our average yearly temperature is 0.6 degrees Celsius. And the warehouse, our first warehouse, which you see behind Colin there, the white.
Colin, you must be freezing standing outside.
It's really, but it's Scottish blood, it's nothing. Yeah, it's all right. Just a wee chill, Yeah.
No, obviously it's a little bit colder here in that warehouse than others.
But I think in the warehouse, just to answer Kat's question again about maturation, yes, we have about 2%, Odin's share. But what we find in the winter, nothing much happens in the warehouse there. It's fairly sort of static. And then the summer comes, and then there's big peak in the summer. So that's when you get the movement within the cask and everything else. And then it dies down again about September, October, and then just goes flat, So we get this one big peak through the year, rather than other distilleries that will be up and down throughout the year, rocking stuff in the casks. Ours, it's one big rock in the summer, big movement and everything else, increased temperatures, and then it drops down again. So we can find you could taste a whiskey in October and taste the same whiskey in March. It won't have changed in the warehouse. It changes between March and October. That's when the change takes place.
Yeah. So, which I guess in time, that's going to be quite cool, because you guys, I assume you follow kind of Scottish aging process in terms of SWA rules. Are you quite similar to, apart from maybe your castle likes, you maybe get to use things that aren't oak?
True.
But if you've got a really cool 9-year-old and you want it to be 10, but it's absolutely spot on flavor, you could leave that for 6 months knowing that flavor is not going to change until it's 10 years old. You can say, right, here we go, this is great. Could
do, yeah, I suppose, yeah. But we do follow the SWA rules, but you're right, in terms of use of wood, we're free to use whatever we want, and we do, so.
No, and we did with Vanaheim,
yeah.
We use teak casks, which are not allowed in Scotland.
Yeah. I think that was the first release that we got from you, was the Valheim.
All right, okay.
Which was in the back of the car. but we won't talk about it.
Indeed. Well, it's just a matter of me transferring the bottles across to the middle of nowhere. Well,
in the car park of a visitor centre. That was great. And,
it's an interesting. The teak was an interesting one, and it's still when we had it at a Dram Good event in Edinburgh, and everybody was loving it, and everybody was saying, "Oh, I've been told to come and try the teak cask," and people coming from various other stands to come and try it because it is distinctly different.
What sort of flavour profiles does it impart on the spirit?
I would say you're going to get almonds, and you're going to get almost like a marzipan coming through in the background as well. It's quite slightly sweet in that sort of flavour. The casks themselves, when I bought them, they were like sort of tonka beans and quite a lot of like tobacco and things like that. Really, really dark casks. So a very, very interesting cask. And almost we used it as a finishing cask, having put 3-4-year-old spirit in there. After 3 months, that was enough. That's fine. We can pull that out.
It was really, really powerful and intense flavor. But I would say that the most striking note for me was cinnamon. It was like eating a very strong cinnamon bun. In Sweden they have these great cinnamon buns you can get, and it was like that for me. And only after 3 months you would get this really powerful taste notes.
I guess
sorry, Kat, you go.
I was going to say, I guess with with some of the cool things you're experimenting with, like your yeast strains and kind of longer ferments, you'd be looking to balance it out and not over hide it behind like a strong influence in a cask, I guess. But play with them. Sorry, Karen.
Very much with the Arctic barley, we're putting them into second fill, almost third fill casks that are sort of spent because we don't want too much, oak influence or influence of bourbon or oloroso or whatever that's in there. We want to just let the barley mature by itself. So that's all we get is that pure barley and cripe yeast, just to see how those two react. And then if we want to put it in a finishing cask, we can. But actually, it's almost nice to think, no, let's just keep it as it is so that people can really get that taste of Arctic Norway coming through. It's quite distinctly different.
And it is different. It is really something else. It's hard to describe it, but it's. I would say that definitely terroir comes into place.
Yeah,
I would definitely say that this grassy terroir thing is really, really powerful on the Arctic barley. So even the yield is, really, really terrible. The taste is super special, to be honest.
I guess with the more heritage type strains, you've got a higher protein content, less of a starch content, which I guess gives you less, alcohol to the tin, but more flavor, I guess, is the idea behind it. But probably not that easy to work with for you guys, I'd imagine.
Actually, we had to choose the barley types. Significant decision point was straw strength, the strength of the straw, because of the harsh temperature variations, because of the heavy rain, because of the heavy snow. You need something that has very strong straw. So that has a really important factor to consider.
Is it a smaller plant, like the barley that you're using?
Yeah.
That's
really
interesting.
Not so tall as the barley you would expect in Scotland. Yeah.
That's very cool. And then there's a native strain to your region, or a native strain to Norway.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Definitely. And at the same time, we're matching it with the Norwegian heritage yeasts at the same time, which makes interesting combinations.
That's exciting.
Guys, without further ado, I'm just going to throw out there that we've talked a lot about the production of the Bifrost series. Yggdrasil is out for pre-order from us. We just got our first order, sold out within an hour last week, and we've managed to get our hands on a few more cases. So I am just going to pop, and normally this is not what we do for the Blether. It's not normally a kind of sales pitch, but having Colin and Tor on tonight, I think it's a great opportunity just to put out there that you can now pre-order this from the shop. I put the links up on the Facebook and YouTube. Please feel free to grab yourself a bottle. You guys will be the first to. As a wee thank you for joining us and watching. And I'm going to have a wee taste and tell you just how good it is, because I haven't tried it yet. As you see in my bottle that Colin so generously sent over for us. Yes, Charlie, it's a shameless plug, I know, but there's very few places in the UK have this, and I think it's just right that we let you guys be the first, or amongst the first, to do that. So,
Cool.
so there we go. So it's a much lighter kind of color to the Midgard. So this is a different cast makeup. And am I right in thinking this is going to be more of a core release in the long run?
Yeah, definitely. It's not going to be the same every year in terms of you're looking for an exact flavor profile, but the casks are going to be pretty similar what we use. And actually, the still Oloroso sherry or seasoned Oloroso seasoned casks that we have, and some sort of STR style of casks as well, along with some of our own peated whiskey that goes into that. The Midgard doesn't have any peat, but this has got a very small amount of peat, because people were saying we'd like that with sort of 5-10% peat. You know, again, this came from the 9 wells. So that's sort of where you are. So yes, year on year, it's going to be the same sort of casks that we're using, but obviously depending on age and each cask is always very different. We will have these slight variations in flavor profile.
There's like dry roasted peanuts. Or
All right. Okay.
That kind of.
Better grab a packet.
That's really nice. There's just enough peat on the nose to let you know it's there. It's not. It's like slightly burnt toast. White bread, because it's got quite a soft malty sweetness to it. Smells delicious. Kat, you're missing out. Although you would have been driving anyway tonight, but
I know.
He's surely making enough money in that place. He could get himself a taxi.
Do you get some flour on the nose? Some orange blossoms?
It's like a dry. I get more like orange peel than the flowers, personally. I get more orange on the note. But it's like a sweet orange, like a clementine or tangerine or something like that. Like the flavor, because normally from a sherry cask I get the dried. It's almost like a crystallized orange or a dried orange peel, but the oiliness. In this one, I'm getting a lot of the juice. It's quite fleshy orange, which is quite cool. It's more peat as well, but it's sweet peat. It's like it reminds me of like an Ardmore kind of peat, where it's sweet and toasty rather than smoky and dry, like charred oak. You sometimes get peat that's really quite charred oak. I like that maltiness about it. It's a really sweet cereal kind of peat. Is this 46% as well?
Yes.
Yeah. We're getting some. We actually got quite a few people giving us the feedback that they normally don't like peat, but this is kind of pleasant. This is not, unpleasant at all. They like that little peat hint.
Yeah, it's just like
we're going for.
If you weren't looking for it, if I'd bought this in a bar and was chatting to you guys in a bar and just sipping away, I don't think I would have said, "Oh, there's peat there." I think it's that subtle that if you know it's there or you're looking for it, you'll find it. But it's just an extra layer of flavor there that is, it's almost like the charring on a toast.
Yeah.
Rather than here's some smoke. That's really lovely. It's smooth. The finish is. I'm getting more of that orange again. It's long. It's dry. It's quite tingly on the sides of the tongue, but sweet in the middle. It's quite a bizarre, nice flavor.
Yeah.
Frode Gundersen says he agrees with the Ardmore comparison.
Oh, excellent.
Cool.
Well, for the guys our side of the North Sea will know who's watching how much I love Ardmore. So it's a big compliment to compare it to Ardmore.
I always think Ardmore is quite a good introduction to peat as well, because I think sometimes when people think of peat, when they say I don't like peat, they're thinking of that the big kind of Islay flavors, that big iodine kind of medicinal salinity, and that's all they know. But you have like these really subtle kind of Highland peat influences. It just give you kind of like, it's not even like smokiness. It's like I don't know. It's like quite hard to describe, but yeah, like Ardmore's a bit like that. You can. It's like you said, Mike, if you're sitting drinking it and chatting away, you kind of forget there's peat in it. You just don't notice it. It's like a really gentle kind of introduction to it. It's more sweet and earthy than full on smoky and dry. But yeah, interesting. I need to do a side with Ardmore.
It's a really nice complex. I'm starting to get a bit of sweets that like caramel or toffee or that kind of notes now that it's been in the glass a wee bit. It's opened up and it's getting a bit of sweetness in it. Well done, guys. That's a really, really pleasant.
Yeah, good.
Whiskey.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. How did you like the packaging?
We wrapped up about 20 odd boxes today. Really liked it. I didn't take my box is still in the delivery box, so I just threw it in my bag and took it home. But feel free to show off this is an annoying part of the background is.
I was just trying to show you that at the top. Sorry. Okay, there.
Yeah.
So
don't move.
Yeah.
It's embossed, isn't it?
Yeah, it's embossed, and these are ancient runes from the Viking Age.
Cool.
Yeah, this and on this side, it's ancient runes, and if you can read the ancient runic language, you will read the story.
Mike's quite proficient, I think.
Well, yeah, Google Translate it. I mean, you can read the story of Bifrost in ancient Futhark, which was called the old Viking language. So we used a specialist to translate and tell the story about Futhark in ancient runic language and embed it in the.
That's outstanding.
Yeah, so it's full of Easter eggs, So that's,
I love that attention to detail.
And this symbol here is actually the symbol for Yggdrasil in this ancient language.
And Yggdrasil itself is the tree, isn't it?
That's the tree that holds all the 9 worlds. There's a lot of stories about the tree and about a squirrel that runs up and down, and an eagle in the top, and a snake on its shore. You'll find all of these stories there.
It is. I was reading about it in the hairdresser today. So the squirrel just like runs up and down, like telling lies to the eagle and the hawk, and like just winds them both up.
What is that?
The tree of life, says Charlie.
Yeah.
So
the question about the PPM. Sorry, I was going to say, is it Frode? I'm going to pronounce your name wrong. Is it Frode? The question about PPM for Ardmore is about 12 to 15. So you're right. You're somewhere in between. You said 10, then you went 15. But you're right. It's somewhere in between there.
Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So who we've got? Where's Roy is asking about Aquavite got the straight from the cask of Karen sample you had me last minute. Oh, he's speaking to Ali. Sorry, I thought he was asking a question.
He's chatting to somebody else.
So sometimes when we have the guys, especially on YouTube, a lot of them know each other through various means, so they have a little chats to each other. I thought he was asking you a question. Hello, where's Roy? Thank you for joining us. And Jeremy says, if only we had somebody who knows a little bit about Ardmore in the chat. So we have somebody like that. So we've talked about whiskey, but let's talk about you guys for a little bit, because a large part of the Blether is to know who you are and what you do. So, let's chat. Colin, let's chat to you first, because you've spoken the least so far. How do you get involved with the Bifrost story?
A bit of madness, probably, but probably my background was sort of hotel industry and such like, and I'd had a wine and spirit shop in Edinburgh before, much like yourself, actually, Mike. Selling things in Edinburgh, independent wine merchants. I then went to work with Visit Scotland, like a hotel inspector, if you want, type of thing. But worked with those guys for 25 years. Ended up managing some of the crew there. Met up with a chap called Hans Olaf Eriksson, who had an adventure company in Norway, and he'd won a scholarship to come across. And I was basically appointed to look after this guy and take him and show him the ropes. So his adventure company was dog sledding and snowmobile safaris and staying in tents in the outdoors and things like that through the middle of winter. And I worked with him on that with his company. And then he said to me after a while, he said, "Oh, do you think you could organise a trip to Islay? I'm quite interested in whiskey." We'd already seen a couple of distilleries. And I said, "Yeah, sure." So I did that my own time. I took some time off and met up with him and first met Tor Petter, and we went to Islay. He just wanted to go there, and I was just sort of organising trips to go and meet various people, like Alan Logan at Årøybukt and Anthony Wills at Kilchoman. And I just, instead of just going and doing tours, we were actually meeting the guys behind it all, at various distilleries, so it was really good. And then maybe I'll pass over to Tor Petter, who can say what he thought about it.
Yeah,
I can keep going, but anyway. I'll keep going. But anyway, so the guys were there, and Tor Petter was quite quiet. He had a laptop out, and he was kind of getting on with stuff. And you could see him calculating in his head as we were walking through distilleries and everything else. So about the second night, we're sitting there having dinner. I mean, I hadn't had a dram all day. The guys had about 5 by 11 o'clock, So I was sort of chauffeuring, and they'd had 1 or 2 drams out of purely out of education, and then they were sitting there at dinner and everything else, and lo and behold, they're chatting away as they do. They switch to Norwegian sometimes when there's something they don't want me to hear. Just
do they still do that, Colin?
They still do. Oh yeah, I just glaze over and watch the Aurora or something like that. They still do it. So they're talking about how to get rid of me or something like that. So it was kind of at the end of dinner, they just sort of right, put the glasses down and turned to me and said, "Right, we're going to open a distillery in Norway. Do you want to be part of it?" And I had like 2 seconds to say yes or no. And God, I mean, you get one of those questions. It was like, "Yep, absolutely."
Wow.
And it's been all uphill. No, it's all been all smooth riding since then. We get on really well. We're just a mad bunch of friends, and we do the best we can, and we do it very well. So it's great fun.
I met the first time I kind of, some people you just click with. I mean, the chemistry is just there.
Yeah.
I remember first time I saw Colin, he was picking us up in Edinburgh at the airport. I said very politely, hello, etc. And then he was driving, and he had the same car that my mother-in-law had at the time. So I was just, a little bit cheeky. I said to him, "Well, this is the same car as my mother-in-law." And Colin immediately said, "Well, it's not your bloody mother-in-law driving now, for sure." And that was,
it was an Audi Sport, so it was a pretty good car. But so I thought, well, we better get to Glasgow and double speed time a lot.
But when Colin said that he loved cars and he loved scuba diving, then that was it for me, because those are 2 passions of
you had things to talk about. Yeah.
Definitely.
And it must be good to have that kind of camaraderie where you can, because sometimes you need to talk about things that aren't risky. Especially if you've had like a crappy day at the distillery or something's not worked or something. You need that downtime, don't you? If you can spend that talking about cars, scuba diving, whatever it is, you need to just switch off, don't you?
And also traveling. Traveling and stuff like that.
But we have these things that you work through the day, and it's all business like. We need to get a decision on this, bang, 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 and then you relax. There's 4 or 5 of you sitting in a jacuzzi with a dram of the Northern Lights, and that's where the craziest business ideas come out. And if you can remember them in the morning, they're quite often actioned. And there's a lot of things we've done at the distillery that are for after a long chat in a jacuzzi, and we think, yeah, we can do that. We can do it. And that's how the best
You know
business.
what?
Yeah, So
I'm doing meetings wrong. I am 100% doing meetings wrong.
Yeah. Oh, we have it. It's actually
Jacuzzi is
true.
way forward.
Yeah.
I mean,
We have had a lot of strategic decisions made in the jacuzzi. That's actually true.
yeah, it's fact.
Cool. So
But
when
is it-
you come over, we will treat you to it, Kat and Mike. That's for sure.
I know you had Dave Broom on
Awesome.
before, and he was over with Blair Bowman at the same time, about 2017, I think it was.
Okay.
And we let a big jacuzzi takes 6-8 people or something like that. So we leapt in there about 10 o'clock at night, and 3 in the morning we decided it was time to exit, having made lots of strategic decisions by then. So,
It reminds me of a story that Shane McGowan told, the Pogues singer and songwriter. And he said, so people asked him about his success, and he goes, well, I would have been more successful if I took all the bar mats home that he'd written lyrics on when he was half canned.
Yeah.
exactly.
Which is all the best lyrics were written down on beer mats and probably cleared away by the bar staff. So.
Have you heard about Balmer's Peak?
Balmer's Peak, no.
Yeah. It is one of the top programmers in Microsoft in the 80s. He experimented on himself on when he was at his most creative when programming. And he was at his most creative when he was peaking at 0.8 per million. So that means that he got a little bit tipsy. That's when he was at his most creative. So, but the problem with us, is that we go past that point, and then
yeah. It's like, well, once you're in that mood, there's no stopping you. Yeah.
So I had a friend. He had a theory about it. He wanted whenever they were together and they were getting kind of a little bit of tipsy, and then they had a lot of creative things going on, and then they would have a person sitting on the side and writing it all down, so that they didn't forget it when they went past that sweet spot.
Well, we say this every week because usually on the Blether, some amazing idea transpires. Sometimes it's 70% nonsense and 30% genius, or 80% nonsense. But we always say we need to go back through the Blethers and actually write them all down in our sort of book of mad ideas. And it is usually when both of us have had a dram and the conversation starts to digress slightly. But there's been some good ones in there. I think actually, like, the whole kind of brand of the Blether developed just from drunken chats, because they started calling all the guys call themselves the Bletherin, didn't they? And that just came off the back of a random chat on here one night. So
Tor
I think
Petter's a lot of our Norwegian colleagues have been asking, Blether, what's that? They haven't got a clue what the word is. So Tor Petter sort of Googled it and went back. Well, it's sort of an informal chat that sometimes involves whiskey. So it's like
Whiskey is kind of the mandatory ingredient.
we need to find a cool Norwegian word for that. Actually,
I was just about to ask: is there a Norwegian word for it?
Yeah. We need to. I don't know.
If there is one, make sure it's one we can pronounce.
Yeah.
It would never work in Finland, because they have a theory that they don't like wasted conversation. The conversation has to have a reason.
Yeah,
so the Finns wouldn't take to a Blether. Well, I'm sorry, no offense to Finns listening, you're breaking the mold. But generally speaking, it's no.
Charlie says that the Norwegian word might be slarv, but I'm not sure if that kind of cut it. Slarv, because slarv doesn't involve whiskey, so we need to come up with another Norwegian word.
There are a lot
is there a Norwegian specific word for whiskey?
What are you saying, Mike?
Sorry, there you go.
Do you have a Norwegian? What is Norwegian for whiskey, or does it translate as whiskey?
Whiskey.
It is whiskey, yeah.
And of course, akavit is the water of life, but whiskey.
Yeah.
I was going to say, you were saying in Doric, Kat, there's a lot of things the same, and there are, a braw we say something's bra, and you say in Norwegian, it's bra, means good, great. So it's the same. There's lots of things. Bairns, we call bairns children, and they call them barns. Bairns, barns, it's the same. But there's a lot of where kids were. A friend of mine's children were visiting, and the little girl, aged 4, sort of thumps the breakfast table and says, "Mehr Frucht." And I'm like, "Yep, that's more fruit. That's just Aberdonian to me." So there's some very similar words that come out. Lots of
We've got lots of Doric expressions written up around about the distillery. It's usually Norwegian groups that'll point it out and take photographs. We've got one in particular. It says it's from a prayer that you would say before dinner, and it's like a man mohi mate. It just means like a man must eat. And like most of the Norwegian guys will stop and say, "Well, this is kind of similar to," like spellings be different, pronunciation slightly different, but they'll usually point this one out and say that's pretty similar. So it's kind of cool. We're practically fluent in Norwegian. You wouldn't think so with our pronunciation of your bottlings that we've just butchered over the last half hour.
Hey! Speak for yourself, Kat. I was all right. It was the hammer I ruined.
You got one out of 3 does not make you fluent, Michael Stewart.
Mike needs to work on the Mjolnir pronunciation, but he got the Yggdrasil.
Yeah. See, I think the more whiskey you have, the easier it gets to pronounce.
Yeah. It's like my wife is from my wife's family is from Germany, and whenever we go there, it always helps to. They don't speak English at all, so you have to speak German to them, whether you like it or not. And I find it that when I had a couple of beers, then the German, flows much more fluently. That's for sure.
Yeah. It's quite an aggressive language, isn't it?
I don't know if it's aggressive. I think they just like to. They're efficient. They just like to pronounce everything. But I always think Scottish people can pick up German easier than other languages because we kind of have a lot of the same. It's just the same way of pronouncing things. A lot of R sounds. But
I think you're right. I mean, I think I did 6 years of French at school. From primary school and secondary school. And I did 2 years of German, and I can speak more German than French. It's so much easier for us to do. I think.
No, it is. It's much easier for us to pick up, I think. And do you speak Norwegian, Colin? Or do you understand it?
Or very badly. Well, I now and then I come up with a phrase and Tor's like, "Christ, where did that come from?" But there's a few things from the back of my head. Because it was Hans Olaf Eriksson dealing with his children when they were growing up. Of course, they didn't speak any English. So I had to learn a bit. So I speak a lot of childish Norwegian. So... Yes. Yeah.
We all have to start somewhere, I suppose.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, I know you're picking up pretty fast, Colin. That's good. I'm proud of you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You probably understand. You probably understand a lot of the spoken word. It's just obviously trying to
we can't talk shit about him in Norwegian anymore. We have to use slang or some code language. So
I'm getting there.
Yeah. Colin, you'll just have to come up with some really good choice Doric phrases to throw back at him if
absolutely. Yeah.
If that happens.
Definitely have to do something.
They might understand that now.
That's true.
So am I right in thinking that Norway is one of the most regulated countries in terms of buying alcohol? You guys have to buy from like a government kind of institution, is that right? If you're buying spirits.
I was in a good mood. Do we really need to talk about it?
No, we don't.
To be honest, Kat, you're absolutely right. I mean, one of the questions we have gotten many times is why do you want to start an alcohol business in one of the most conservative countries in the world? And the short answer to that is export, of course. But Norway is super expensive when it comes to alcohol. I mean, the taxes they put on alcohol are insane. We are talking about that Norwegian alcohol is 3 times more expensive than the average of Europe. And also, you're right. You can only buy through a governmental institution. What also many people don't know is that from 1914 until 2005, it was not allowed to do what we are doing now, distilling. This was banned in Norway for some reason. There was only one governmental owned company that could do, distillation in Norway all the way up till 2005. So our industry, the Norwegian whiskey industry, is really young, very young. We are considered some of the, veterans, and we started in 2016, So it's a very difficult country in many terms. You can't market, you can't do any marketing. So it's really super difficult. But like I said, you have to think export and work with international markets if you want to grow, if you want to have a sustainable business. And it's a shame because one of the things that I picked up very fast when we visited Ireland that first time was that this industry is really something good for rural areas. It is something that provides jobs, interesting jobs for a lot of people in rural area, and it has so many facets. It's not just alcohol, which you can discuss endlessly, but it's also the marketing, the distribution, the production, the innovation. There's so many facets of the industry which are super cool, and Norway is very rural.
I think on that factor as well, when we set up the distillery, we wanted to involve as many local people as possible. And also with my background in terms of tourism, I was looking at making it not just somewhere that people came for an hour or two and went away, is that we wanted people to come and stay for 2 or 3 days. So with that in mind, working with Hans Olav from Tor Petter, we have 10 cabins right there that just look right over the fjord. Tor is involved with an adventure company that has snowmobile safaris in the winter. Now just got electric snowmobiles, which are absolutely superb, nice and quiet, really environmentally friendly. We work with another company there who does dog sledding. We also have like Northern Lights tours, and we employ, is it about 27 people, Tor Petter now?
Yeah, we got 27 on the payroll, but from day-to-day basis, it's between 12 to 14 people.
Yeah, but we've got part-time people as well. So locally in the area, we're employing those, and also then other companies are setting up, doing adventures, linking with us. Kind of, we're bringing people in, so they start doing adventures. So it's great for the community in terms of that, and the sustainability aspects of working with the local farmers and the barley and everything else. So it's great. But going back to the bottles and the conservative regime, people are so annoyed that they can't buy a bottle of whiskey from our distillery. And so are we. We're really annoyed about that as well. But not even a miniature. You can't even buy a miniature bottle from us. You can have a dram at the bar and we can do our tastings, but you cannot buy a bottle, which is just crazy.
That's mad.
What a help that would be for a startup company if you could sell over the counter. You will of course pay the alcohol tax and everything, but the ability to sell something over the counter. All of you guys have been to Scottish whiskey distillers, and it's just you get so many people.
Part of it, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So, but it's like I said, very conservative. And as soon as you start to get into the politics of it, they always all of the opponents, they drag in social problems, alcoholism, kids being victims of alcoholic parents, etc. But this has really nothing to do with the industry that we are building in Norway right now. We're building premium products which are on a much higher segment, both quality wise.
You're not going to get the poor people who want the cheapest booze making that trip up to you guys to buy a bottle.
No, I have a very, very clear conscience about that.
I think it is. Let's not get down that rant, because I have my own opinions on it, as well as how the government sees alcohol compared to day to day what alcohol is. And there's rumblings in the background here about doing that no advertising. All our bottles have to be behind closed doors and things like that.
I have a very good tip for you guys. Have you read a book called Drunk by a professor called Edward Slingerland? You should. he theorizes around the benefits of alcohol in terms of human evolution. It is a super good book, to be honest. It's called Drunk by Edward Slingerland. And his thesis is that, humans wouldn't have the civilization that we have unless we had, alcohol. Because alcohol was the reason why many groups gathered together and started making civilization, because they were gathered together to brew beer. And also he talks about all the benefits, not only the negatives. I mean, of course, alcohol is negative
I've got it on Google Books. I have it on my phone. I haven't read it yet. You just reminded me about it.
It is super good. And it tells you, I mean, this is a substance that humans have used for hundreds of thousands of years in order to be socializing, in order to be creative, to overcome problems, in order to battle sickness, in order to discover weaknesses in a deal. 3,000 years ago in China, you couldn't do a business deal unless you had been drunk together for 3 days.
Yeah,
that brings out all the truth. I mean, stuff like that.
What was it? Was it the Chinese that said to broker a deal? If it was you had to broker it sober, then broker it drunk. If it was still a good deal at the end of it, then it went ahead.
Exactly. Yeah.
The opening line of this book is is incredible. People like to masturbate. They also like to get drunk and eat Twinkies. Not typically all at the same time, but that's a matter of personal preference.
You'll enjoy that book. That's fabulous.
No, I couldn't put it aside. I mean, it's very academic, but at the same time, it has so many interesting points for us people who are in the alcohol industry. Maybe.
Yeah. It's incredible just how dangerous the people and the powers that be seem it is. But when you take a leaf out of maybe kind of Central Europe, some of the hotter countries, how open they are, especially children, about having a glass of wine.
Yeah.
And they don't have the same social issues because it's nothing new. It's not this kind of magical thing. It's hidden in the top shelf. People talk about it, they converse over it, and as long as people are taught to respect it, then that's what it needs. It needs more exposure, more education, rather than hiding it away.
I do agree with that, but it's funny as well that most of us have got into whiskey because one of our key core memories is a father or a grandfather used to enjoy like a dram, like a single malt. And like I remember my granddad, like alcohol was expensive and it was brought out at special occasions. It was never really overindulging. So yeah, I don't know where this kind of negative idea of Scottish people and whiskey and alcohols come from.
In Norway, because we have been deprived, because it's been so regulated, I mean, the strategy of the Norwegian government has to increase the price and to limit the access for us. And because of that, the culture, especially in rural parts of Norway, has been that whenever you get some alcohol, you just drink and get drunk as humanly possible. Whether that is on a trip down to Gran Canaries, or if it's a trip to Sweden, or if it's you get some moonshine or whatever. So I think it's the debate needs to open up a little bit and look into this.
We just had a comment from Frank Peathead, who's watching on YouTube. Earlier this week, there was an organisation that houses elderly people in the Netherlands brought up the idea to ban alcohol for the elders. God. So this is not even the children. This is banning. So it's like, here's your bus pass. You can never drink again. It's like crazy.
I mean, I think in my dotage, when I'm laid up at home, I think I'd rather enjoy a dram. Actually, probably the highlight of the day.
One of the few pleasures in life is sitting
exactly.
Oh my God,
you treat the elderly like children. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
But responsibly and
that's the key. The key thing is make sure it's responsible, and once you get to your tippling point, then that's when the best ideas come. As long as you don't go beyond that too regularly, then you'll be fine.
Still struggling with that.
Arnie Jorgen is on. He's watching on Facebook. He says he was visiting the Aurora last summer. It was a magic place, and the cabin's nice and helpful staff. Good drinks. So you've got thumbs up.
Thank you, Arne. Thank you.
The
Appreciate that.
cabins look beautiful. I was looking at your website earlier, and I like looking out over that beautiful mountains, and the tasting area as well. You look out over the mountains there too, don't you? It just looks absolutely stunning. So
Not
beautiful.
now, because now it's pitch dark, and in a couple of weeks it's going to be dark 24/7.
Oh wow, really? Gosh.
It must be such a psychological challenge to deal with that being dark, because in 6 months it's going to be kind of sunshine for 24/7, isn't it?
So if you see the picture behind Colin, that is taken midday, about this time of year. So that's the most light midday.
Midday, yeah. So
it's
you get this blue light for about. You get this blue light between about 11 and 2, and then it goes again. So this is daylight at this time of year in the Arctic. It gets darker than this in December.
We call it the
Have you
blue
found
hour.
that, Colin? Do you obviously live there? Yeah.
No, I don't. I
You
live
don't.
near Inverness, but I'm back and forward.
So have you experienced the sort of the long, like the dark nights and
I mean, you're right with your head torches on and everything else, and actually sometimes it can be pretty icy underfoot. And if you go as a tourist, I mean, it's great. It's so different. You think, wow, this is wonderful. But then you have to think of these guys living there. It's kind of like you don't know where you are. You wake up in the morning, 9:30, it's pitch black. 10, it's pitch black. 11, you get a bit of this behind me. 2 o'clock, it's black. By 3:30, you're thinking it's time for a dram. I mean, it's like you think it's like 7:30 at night. It's like it messes with your head. But then you go in the summer, it's 24-hour daylight. I mean, I remember sitting on somebody's balcony. I don't know, it might be Tor Petter's or something, at about 10 o'clock at night, having a glass of wine, watching the sun go down. And I watched the sun go down for 4 hours. 3 in the morning. I decided it's probably time to go to bed. The sun still wasn't down, and it was starting to come up again. So it's crazy. The two extremes are absolutely crazy. But I think going as a tourist, it's a real experience. I wouldn't say don't go because of the polar night. I would go because you've got to experience it. It's real fun. You're dog sledding with a head torch on. You're out in the snowmobiles with the lights on, going through the woods at night. Not at night, during the day, but it's black. Do it, absolutely do it. But I feel for the guys who live through it, 2.5 months of the year with no sunshine. It's like,
that's when we go a couple of weeks to the Canaries in the middle of the winter.
Indeed. Yeah.
Right. But we also have the Northern Lights, so it's not just pitch dark.
No.
If the sky is clear, the chances of Northern Light is some of the best.
I absolutely adore the Northern Lights. I'm slightly obsessed by them, but I've never been that. They've been quite good here last 2 years, but I've not been that lucky to see them.
Kat, they're right above you. They are just there, like the picture behind Tor Petter's head. That is there, right above the distillery.
And can you see that with the naked eye then? Because over here you tend to have a camera or something like that.
Of course.
Yeah.
It's crazy sometimes. It's really crazy. So some of the strongest, I have had some really good experiences with the Northern Lights, especially lying in the jacuzzi and enjoying a dram and just looking at it.
You are living your best life. That is absolutely amazing. Yeah. So it's mainly the green that we see here, but you get more of that pink light coming through with you guys as well, don't you? Or is the green still the most common for you?
Green's most common. I think the pink's on the extremes, so that's why you get the pinks and the reds. We get this, we get some purples as well, but mainly the greens. But sometimes you get rainbow colours coming out. But there will be, as I say, just right overhead. It's just you're right in the middle of it, so it's crazy.
Bivrost, the shaking road.
It is very, very cool. It's worth. Well, when we come up to do a business meeting in the jacuzzi, we'll time it so that we can see the Northern Lights as well. Sounds like we've got a whiskey shop day out, Mike.
Sounds like we're going to have to. It won't be a whiskey shop. It'll be a Blether day out. It'll be.
A Blether.
Yeah, sure. You're more than welcome.
Somebody did put in a comment I think it was a word for what we were talking about for the Blether.
Yeah.
Philly babbling?
Philly babbling.
Let me check.
Philly babbling?
Philly.
Fyllebobber. Okay. Fyllebubbling.
Which is?
A good one, Frode, but I don't agree with Frode on that one. Fylle, that means just the rabbling you're doing when you're drunk. But I don't feel
Okay.
I don't feel that the Blether is about getting drunk. It's about being social and relaxed and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I honestly can't think of a good Norwegian word for it. So we might have to get together in the jacuzzi and figure out a new word for it.
Yeah, it could take about 3 or 4 hours, but yeah.
Yeah, we'll hang back after the show and we'll come up with it.
Yeah.
Rob Smith has said a Blether under the Northern Lights would be epic.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I saw the Northern Lights for the first time in my life about a month ago.
No way.
Yeah, literally a month ago.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
It was incredible. And it was just out my bedroom window. So normally, Inverud is a fairly large town. It's about 20,000 people. So there's a lot of light pollution, so we don't tend to see it. You have to go out of the town to see it. But yeah, from the bedroom window with the camera, it was clear as, pardon the pun, clear as day. But not quite.
I had one of them. I mean, this business of ours would not exist unless we had the Northern Lights, because in late 2015 we encountered massive problems because we were building a distillery from scratch. Nobody had done that, before in Norway in many years. We're talking about almost 100 years, and there were so many rules and regulations and obstacles, you wouldn't believe it. And I just we gotten all the costs of everything, and the finances were really a problematic thing. So actually we or at least for myself, who was the project manager, I had given up, to be honest. I had given up and had started these pragmatic thoughts about how to cancel the project, return the money, go back on the project, all of these things. And I was at home, I was alone, and I went into the jacuzzi thinking about all these, negative thoughts on how to dismantle the whole project, everything down. And I was sitting in the jacuzzi, and then the whole sky started to move. Everything started to move. It was just insane. It was the most spectacular Northern Lights I've seen in my life ever. And I've grown up here, so I'm used to it. And it's no big deal for us, but this was and I was just looking at it. I was just totally mesmerized by the Northern Lights, by the colors, by the movements, by how everything was. And I changed my mind there and then because of this. I felt like it was some kind of signal from above, from Odin or Tor or whatever, and or Heimdall, who is the guardian of the Northern Lights. So there and then I changed my mind and got up of the jacuzzi and got to grips with it, and we solved all those problems. But right there and then everything was going to not happen. But then that happened. That's a true story.
That's your kind of epiphany moment.
Yeah, it was just insane. Really insane. Yeah.
Is that why the company's named Aurora Spirits? Is it from that?
Yeah, well, that is because of the Norwegian law. We couldn't call at the time. There has been some slight changes in the law now, but at the time we could not name the company as an alcohol brand. Okay. So we had to name the company something and the brand another thing. We were the first thing we did before we found the company name or established the company, we did a thorough research on brand and direction, and we chose Bifrost. So we looked into calling it Bifrost Distillery, but that was not allowed in Norway, to be honest. So we had to come up with a different name for the distillery and then the brand. It's sometimes confusing for people, but we managed to work our way around that.
I had the impression that Bifrost was the series of whiskies, and then maybe when you went on to the next stage, it would be a different. But Bifrost is the brand, and Aurora is the company.
Bifrost is the registered brand. That was actually the first thing we did. We didn't have any money or didn't know what the hell we were doing, but we knew one thing, and that we were going to register a brand, and that's what the first thing we did.
So you'll see that Tor's wearing the Aurora Spirit Distillery logo. I'm wearing the Bifrost one. Tor couldn't wear this one on the Blether because he'd be advertising alcohol. But at the moment, he's advertising the distillery as a business, which is different. But he couldn't advertise. He could not advertise Bifrost as a product. Whereas here in the UK, which is why we have these two sort of companies here in the UK, I can market Bifrost and advertise Bifrost and everything else. So everything in the UK is under Bifrost brand, and through we go. And Tor's wearing that one, and it's tough because I mean, people, all these people say enter this competition and that competition for the international spirits competition and World Whisky Awards and this, that, and the other. Great, we can enter them and we can win. Tor can't market that. Can't market the win. Can't put the plaque up. Can't put the certificate up. Can't go to the local newspapers. They won't pick it up because it's alcohol. So all these companies keep coming to us, say, "Oh, enter this competition and that," and you think, yes, all very nice, but why?
What's the point?
What can I do with it? But I can pump it out through Bifrost UK. I can do that. But it's kind of.
So if you had to set up a different kind of arm to that within the UK that can, because obviously things like this, things like social media can be bandied about the globe, so they can pick it up that way.
Yeah, it's all in Norway. It's all about you will get under investigation and have the government's eye on you. If we were only in Norway, but if a significant part of your business is exporting to other countries and your marketing is related to that export part of the business, then that's much easier. We are almost at 70% export, so for us that's okay,
Yeah.
Gosh, it's a credit to the fact you're making such a good quality spirit that you have got such a good home fan base as well. That if you can't market it at home, but obviously you've got this group of people that love your spirit. It obviously shows that they recognise the quality of it and keep coming back for it, because you guys are up against it, with new releases and things, trying to get the information out there. That's not easy.
Yeah. It's kind of, we're marketing but not marketing, if you know what I mean. It's we don't do it. Oh, hey, hi.
Hello, man.
Waving at you. Hey, you're up late.
Hey.
Why are you up so late?
We haven't had a Killian on the Blether for a while.
Oh, well, so Norwegian.
I think he popped in a week that you weren't here.
Rude.
He did. He came in. You weren't on. But this is Killian.
Hi.
Oh,
hi.
This is Devin.
Hi, Killian.
Hi. You waving?
Hey,
and Killian's mum is in the corner there somewhere. Hi, Tony.
Yeah.
That's all we get. Hi, Tony.
Yeah.
Hey.
So the guys we're speaking to, remember meeting them in Rassi?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, as in.
Colin and Tor.
Yeah, because I went in his car.
You got in his car, yeah. Colin.
Okay.
Yeah, you remember the car.
The first time we met. Yeah, we had.
She doesn't remember. She doesn't remember the people, but she remembers the car.
No, she remembers the car.
Yeah.
There we go. There's a little family.
Yeah.
family
Hi, Tony.
photo
How
there.
are you doing? Hi there. Yeah. Cool.
So,
Yeah.
I'll disappear again. I don't look good on camera.
so this is me,
always
man.
look good.
Nice to see you. Yeah.
He should be in bed, but
Yeah. Yeah.
Suppose
No,
I'll-
quiet.
So should Colin. Colin should also be in bed by now. So
Oh,
well, if we're going by
The
that new rules for the Netherlands,
elderly.
yeah.
Yeah, look after the elderly. Yeah.
Mwah.
Mm.
Little cameo.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Nice.
Chamonix Charlie says hello as well.
Yeah. Actually, the car that Colin has, it has Bifrost commercial on it.
Yeah.
That's,
logo.
that's allowed in the UK. That's cool, actually.
Yeah. And then Tor Petter has a Morgan in Norway with Aurora Spirit on it.
Yeah.
So we have one each side of the ditch.
Yeah.
and it's crazy that we can advertise alcohol on cars in the UK, but you can't advertise it at all in Norway.
No, not at all. Yeah.
Norway is difficult, but we knew it when we started, so that's no reason to quit.
Yeah.
Goodness, I had no idea.
So how important when you guys had this idea, and then obviously export's going to be a large part of your market, how important was Scotland to that? Obviously, in terms of whiskey, we are kind of a beacon, but in terms of drinking world whiskey, we're quite low down on that rung. We don't tend to.
But I think for me, being a Scot, I'd love to have the whiskey in Scotland, and so it's always been an intention to have it here. I set up the company in the UK pre-Brexit, and thought, great, well, I set up a company in the UK, and from the UK we can go to Europe. Brilliant, bingo, all sorted, shipped to here, no problem, easy customs and everything else. Brexit comes along and kabam, just destroyed that market. And I remember speaking to my customs import officer, or my customs clearance officer, I think that was his name, and I said, God, Brexit, this is a nightmare. What do you think? And he just rubbed his hands and said, brilliant, I'm going to make more money. This is and all he was looking at was his cut, because there's much more paperwork, as you will know, a heck of a lot more. And we have had nothing but problems. I mean, even this release that you were meant to get the latest Yggdrasil to sell has been held up at customs because of some little bit of paperwork somewhere. It's just crazy. So the whole idea of the UK, to me, is kind of gone out the window a bit, because it's raised the price. It's the shipping's gone up, the customs clearance has gone up, the storage has gone up, everything's gone up. And it's just totally unfair, if you ask me. But yes, Scotland is important. You guys are absolutely stunning, fantastic what you're selling. It's great. We have a few more other bods in the ground. It's only very few independents. We don't produce enough for other people, really. Other people say, oh, well, I'll take X amount. And we say, well, we haven't got that, So it's small amounts. But it is big. And I think it's kind of like, it's like bringing whiskey back to the home country in a way, and it's just kind of, we want to have some presence here. It's kind of like, and there is a tremendous Norwegian Scottish affiliation, so
I think certainly in the northeast we have that, with the oil connection as well. There's a lot of guys who work together and things. We have that kind of connection.
But it was interesting, because I was at a Dram Good event, which is organized by Årøybukt in Edinburgh, and he marketed that as come and meet some of the small Scottish, independent producers. And there was us with our Norwegian flags and everything else. And nobody said to us, what the hell are you doing here? Whatever, what's this? Isn't it meant to be Scottish? They were all like, oh, wow, Norwegian. Oh, let's have a look. Yeah. And a lot of people said to me, do you know, if that was English whiskey, they would never have taken it. It was no, what, really? Yeah. But because it's Norwegian, it's kind of like, we're part Norwegian. That's fine. So it worked well.
Well, that's what I've been finding all along on this trip. I mean, the first time I went to Scotland was in late 2013, when I met you. And I mean, meeting Scottish people and talking to them is so easy, so friendly, same type of humor, same type of characters. You got shitty weather, we got shitty weather. It's you got fjords, we got mountains, bad dark humor, everything. It's really matching. And we picked up so much influence from the Scotch whiskey industry, mainly through Colin's rather large network. So it was only natural to go that way.
But just to pick up on that, I mean, and take up too much of your time, but pick up on that, when we first sort of started in 2015, 2016, when we opened up, our guys in Norway hadn't got a clue about making whiskey. Our head distiller was a brewer, which is great. I mean, that's part of the process. A brewer from Mac, and Tor Petter said, "How are we going to get him educated in whiskey?" And I said, "Right, well, I'll contact some friends." And I contacted Glenn Turret, part of the Edgerton group, and contacted Leslie Williamson, who was there at the time. And I said, pitched it, any chance of our, distiller coming and working with you guys for 2 to 3 weeks just to learn the ropes? And Edgerton came back and said, "Yeah, sure. When do you want to come over?" And I was like, "Really?" And that's Edgerton, that's Macallan and everything else, that's them saying, "Sure, come on over, we'll look after you." And they did, and been firm friends ever since. With Glenn Torrey, Ian Rennick, and everybody, super friends, and they just helped us on the way, and they still do, and so do many, many, many other distilleries. We've got strong allegiances and alliances with them. Super.
It's amazing, guys like Edgerton and Diageo from the kind of consumer point of view. They're seen as behemoths and these kind of big guys who say yes and no and charge a fortune and all this kind of things. Everything's closed doors. But when you get behind the scenes from an industry point of view, the nicest, friendliest, most helpful people in the world. And it's nice to kind of hear that stories that allows guys who are watching tonight who are sitting home thinking.
I mean, the first time we went to Isla, and we went to 8 different distilleries and talked to the managers and the head distillers and everything they just open up. I mean, they wouldn't give her our recipes or the minor secrets, but they open up and told the facts about how the industry. I was just blown away by the openness and friendliness. It was just amazing. And this has been the way. This has been the same all the way. So we have learned a lot from the Scottish whiskey industry. A lot, really, really. Thankful.
Have you? Did you get the chance to try the Rassay Quercus Humboldti release when they took it out?
Of course.
Of course. I mean, we actually, you were there, of course, when we tried the cask. Yeah,
we tried the cask. I think it was about 6 or 8 months old at the time. Yeah,
and it was so honeyed and beautiful and dark and rich and everything else. That I don't know about afterwards, or maybe you've gone. And I said to Alistair, I said, "Can I buy some of those casks? Because you could only get it by the container. I couldn't afford a container."
Yeah. So I think we spoke about it. Time. Like, how are you going to? We say, how are you going to control that? Because there's so much flavor now.
Yeah.
For another kind of year and a half, it was just 2 years.
Well, I mean, so we, I spoke to Alison. We got 16 casks. He had a shipment coming over, and I took 16 casks and got it into Glasgow, and then I transferred it to our guys.
Oh, brilliant!
Shipped it across, so we had it. So we've used the release we had. Alfheim had Quercus Humboldti in it, and also Chinkopin, and also Virgin Oak, which was a really nice kind of spicy, honeyed sort of whiskey. And we still have some Humboldti out there that are just maturing away nicely, ticking away and everything else. They're going to be absolutely superb. I absolutely love those casks. They're just, we tasted it there. We went bang, Manzanilla, whatever, Humboldti. Christ, what's this? How old? Jesus, that's brilliant.
That's incredible.
And, we just had to buy it. So and this is the sort of thing working with Rassay, with Alistair's just fantastic, that you can, between distilleries, it's not competition. It's like, yeah, sure, I'll sell you 16 casks. No problem at all. Bang, and just super collaboration and working together. And the Humboldti, it's absolutely
amazing.
Really, really good.
But in this grand scheme of things, we are super, super tiny. We are really, really minuscule in the big. I mean, the whole whiskey industry in Norway is really minuscule, to be honest.
What is your output? What volume are you putting out a year or a week?
In total in Norway, it's about, I think it's about 250, around 250,000 liters last year, I think.
So that's Norway, but for us, for us, we were about 20,000 liters. That's it of new make. We're now possibly up to 40,000, but we're never going to get more than 70 as a target for a few years. We're never going to be more than that. Really small.
Well, I mean, that's more than triple, what you were. So
yeah. And the other thing is we work, we're growing, as Tor Petter says, organically, and everything else. We work with a really small team. We don't want to get too much bigger, to be honest. We would like to increase production and get more efficient and everything else. But actually, to become a big distillery, it's not our sort of league. We don't really want to have twice the workforce and everything else, and then have all the issues that you get with twice the workforce and everything else. We've got a really close-knit team that works really well together, that pull together, that multi-skill, that do everything, and we have fun together. And that is something Dave Broom said he'd never seen a distillery with so much fun.
Fun and innovation.
We do. And we don't want to get bigger. We just want to be maybe better quality, but we've got great quality, but it's kind of, we're just going to keep doing what we're doing.
So you guys make a range of, you do like whiskey and gin and vodka, is that right? And aquavite.
Yeah. Whiskey. Anyway, whiskey, gin, vodka, aquavite.
Does your production team kind of do you kind of split your year, of, like depending on what you're making, or like do you have sort of like a set kind of production schedule for each thing, or do your team get to do like a little bit of everything? Like obviously you have your column still and your pot still. Like how does your year look in terms of production?
No, it's like you said, it's divided into seasons, you might say. So in the autumn we produce a lot of aquavit, then we go over to whiskey, and then we do some gin. But now we're upgrading our production. We have bought a new brew house, which will increase the capacity of whiskey production significantly. Also, we have bought a new still specifically for the gin. So now more and more we will do both things at the same time. Up until now, we only had one still, which we had used for gin, for vodka, aquavit, and whiskey. But now we're going to do things in parallel going forward. So, but I mean, whiskey has always been the main thing for us. But it takes some years to get there. It's super expensive. So you need to have some bread and butter while you're getting there. And travel industry, hospitality is one thing, but also products with shorter road to market like gin, vodka, and aquavit has been very important for us to stay alive. And we also made some good innovations there. Some really cool innovations in that area as well.
What's the botanicals in here? Oh no, sorry, Mike, go on.
I was going to ask, just as a comparison for the guys who maybe don't know, what's the weekly outturn of somewhere like Glengarry, or the annual outturn of Glengarry, which in Scottish terms is quite a small distillery.
So we are classed as a very small distillery, but we're about 1.2 million litres annually. So that's a lot, a little bit more than you guys are producing every year.
Yeah, so that's about 4 times as much as whole of Norway.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah,
mad to think about that. And then I go to obviously work, and we're a really small distillery. Like, you can hardly fit 5 or 6 people around about our mash tun, and we're very much hands-on. We're doing floor malting, and I think of ourselves as like this little craft distillery. Not so much when we compare it to you guys. And we haven't.
It was a disaster that happened during the First World War One. In the 1800s, in the 19th century, Norway was probably one of the best in Europe at distilling. There was in 1820 there was official counting of how many stills there were in Norway. And I'm not talking about big production stills, but also big production stills and smaller stills, all the way down to what you have in the kitchen. And the counting was 46,000 stills in Norway in 1820. Wow. So everybody was distilling, everybody. All over Norway, distilling was the thing in the 1800s. But of course, that went to hell. You couldn't do that. So people got drunk and they drank and they
It was that self-consumption then. That wasn't for selling. That was just for
self-consumption. I mean, basically, if you had too much corn and you didn't know how to store it, you could distill it and preserve it or trade it. Or
that's a big thing of why distillation became a kind of thing, was it? Especially with farmers, it was they don't want to waste it, so let's make something of it that we can use and preserve it. It was alcohol's a preservative rather than a.
I like that. I like that idea. I really do.
Yeah.
We had this spring. We got a call from a wholesaler who had a lot. He had 11 pallets of wine that was going for destruction, and he just by randomly called us and asked. I mean, we got 11 pallets of wine. It's many thousand liters. Do you want to buy it cheaply and do something with it? And we said, yes, of course, we'll buy it. So we bought all of the wine. We set up a line where we, opened the bottles, poured in IBCs, and distilled everything. And now we got 4 really delicious casks of Arctic brandy on storage. So that's the whole idea of using distillation as a means of recycling things. I know that people are doing some really cool shit with in Germany with wasted bread, wasted fruits, etc. This is also part of a thing we got going on Svalbard, which is even further north from here. We are doing some really cool stuff there as well.
That's incredible. So where can we buy this brandy? Is that a Distillery exclusive? Well, only because you can't.
Well, we don't know yet if we're going which distribution channels we're going to go through. We have to wait for the sweet spot. I mean,
it needs to mature a bit more, but yeah,
it needs to mature a little bit more.
Yeah.
We're doing a couple of different casks, but it needs to mature a little bit more before we release it. But if we're going to release it international or in Norway or whatever, I don't know yet. We have to see. But it tastes really good. The distillate was super fruity and nice, and so far what I've tasted is going in a really good direction.
Yeah,
that's very cool. I think as soon as you put the word Arctic in front of anything, it just sounds more exciting. Arctic brandy, Arctic whiskey. It's much more exciting than Aberdeenshire. Yeah. What was that?
Yeah. The Arctic monkeys.
Yeah, obviously. Anyway.
Yeah, we don't have so much of them.
Also
here.
very exciting.
Yeah, I think that's like a couple of big hits.
What sort of wildlife do you get?
Sorry?
The Arctic monkeys. Yeah. What sort of wildlife do you get wandering past your? What sort of wildlife do you get wandering past your distillery? Is there sort of kind of anything specific to where you are? Not penguins, Mike.
We've got,
what animals?
What wildlife do you have?
Yeah.
So you got the reindeer, moose. There's the sea eagles just flying across most of the time. Orca go past the point.
That's cool.
Dolphins.
Yeah, you had a lynx there not so long ago. Was it lynx or
lynx? Yeah.
Oh wow!
So there's quite a lot of wildlife around. Yeah,
and sheep.
So I saw a video. I saw a video of how fast a moose can run in snow. I saw it on Instagram. That's where I get all my factual news from. Yeah. They go fast. They're big. They go really fast.
Yeah.
They do, and they are big. They are really big. You don't want, and that's a big problem here in the north. Is that people hit them with cars, especially when there's big snowfalls. They come down to the village and the roads, and you don't see them before you hit them. And having a 600 kilos moose over your dashboard, that's not something you want to experience.
It's not really something you can tie to the bonnet and take home with you, is it?
Yeah. Like on Top Gear with the cow.
Yeah. Even if you see them on the telly and all that, but they're always surrounded by other moose, so you don't get a scale.
But moose meat, I'm not sure if you're vegans or whatever, but moose meat and reindeer meat is super good with whiskey. Fantastic.
Okay. I've had reindeer meat before. It's quite rich, isn't it? It's a rich red meat. I've never had moose.
Yeah. Moose is also, and especially if you have a moose fillet on the grill and with slightly smoky whiskey, like for instance Yggdrasil. It's really really good, to be honest. So and also smoked salmon.
Yeah, we need to get some moose.
Yeah,
I don't think there's a lot of it comes into Scotland. I don't know why though. You see reindeer now and again, but you'd never see.
They can't get under the customs barrier. They're too big.
but I think because they're generally not farmed, they're only hunted in the wild, and it's licensed. So there's only a certain amount. can be hunted per annum, and you need to get a permit. The people who buy a permit are selling it to their families and such like.
Colin, remember when those moose came out right behind the jacuzzi?
Yeah.
I think.
Crazy.
Oh, no way. Can you imagine sitting in a jacuzzi?
It was.
Whiskey in your hand, the Aurora Borealis above you, and then just this family of moose walking past.
Yeah, they're just there, just looking. I think they wanted a beer or something, but it was crazy. You're just there. It's just like, whoa, what's this doing?
They're very good swimmers as well, aren't they?
Yes, they can swim far, actually. That's good.
Well, so can red deer, though, because you see the red deer swimming between the islands during the rutting season on the west coast, which is the weirdest thing ever, to just see some antlers kind of coming out of the sea. But
that's just because they're horny, though, isn't it?
Thank you.
Yes,
I don't mean horny. I mean like Randy.
Yes. No, I understood.
Yeah. Okay.
I because they're going off to fight all the other ones. They hear all the other stags roaring on the other islands, and they think I could take you, so they swim over and kind of have a.
By the time they get to the beach, they're knackered.
It's pretty much like we'll do it.
No, they come all the way down to. I mean, people have found them in the garage. They come all the way down to the houses and everything. One summer, one moose came and she laid down right outside our house. And she was there all day, and we were just taking pictures and everything. And then in the end of the day, she got up and walked, and then there was a little moose behind her. So she had given birth right next to our house.
Oh, no way.
And walked away with the small one.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. So whenever that moose fills in a form and it says birthplace, you can say like Tor's house.
Yeah. That's my moose. Don't touch my moose.
Oh, cool.
That's very cool.
We don't get wild. We will obviously. Kat, you've probably lived in places in Scotland that's had wildlife in the back garden. We're lucky if we get. Well, we've got dogs, so we're lucky if we get birds in our back garden, let alone deer or moose or anything wonderful like that.
No, I mean, I think I've probably seen most things you get in Scotland. We've got some really cool wildlife, but nothing as big as a moose. And the orcas do come down to the north of Scotland and the Shetland Isles and things. But I've never been lucky enough to see an orca. I've seen a pilot whale and I've seen a basking shark.
Yeah.
I've never
seen a basking shark. I've seen dolphins. We had a family of ducklings walk into our back garden once.
Yes.
Ducklings. There was no duck. It was just ducklings. And it was the evening. It was the opening game to the Euros, the European Championships, where Scotland were playing Germany. And it must have been about half an hour before kickoff. I just finished my dinner to go out to watch the game in the pub. And I looked in the back garden, and there was about 8 ducklings just walked past the window, and I'm like, what's going on here? So I went out. Of course, they got a flag, they got scared and ran behind the shed. So me and the wife were like closed the dogs in the garden in the shed and went out, and we found 7 of them, and then one of them escaped. We managed to get them all in his basin. So I phoned up Andrew from Little Brown Dog actually, because he's a vet by trade, and I was like, what do we do? We just found these ducklings wandering around aimlessly without a mum. And he's like, well, there's nothing really you can do. Don't take it to the vet because they won't want them. Just, their mum will leave them alone. Their mum will find them. Yeah. Like, well, we've got them in a box now, so we can't just leave them alone. So we took them down to the local river and just let them loose there and hope that.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Hope everything went okay with them then.
Well, they were happy when we let them go.
Yes.
We never saw them again. They never came back to tell us how they got on. So
sure, it was a happy ending. I'm sure
I hope so. It was just that one that we lost that we don't know what happened to him.
Right now we have the whaling season here. So the whales come up here in December, January, February, and 1 hour with boat from where we have the distillery. There's a lot of whales. So that's kind of a tourism thing. People pay large amounts of money for going and looking at whales. And we even had last year we had a product, travel product called Whisky and Whale. So basically, we would go out on a boat, a very fancy high-end boat, and see the whales, and you would drink Bifrost whiskey while watching the whales.
That's very cool.
I'm not sure if they're doing this this year. It has been taken off the booking. I think it was too difficult to. But we had a couple of trips with that, with Whisky and Whale.
Yeah.
Can you guarantee the whales though? That's probably the.
Yeah, they are pretty steady, but they change from location to location. So some years ago they were outside of Tromsø, a little bit further east of here. But now they've settled, a little bit closer to where the distillery. Our hope is that maybe they find out, okay, we want to hang out around the distillery some years, and then they, But we had tourists, sitting in the cabins, enjoying and drink or just relaxing, and then suddenly whales passing right by the cabin, sitting in the living room watching it.
That's pretty epic.
Amazing. Yeah.
How close are you guys to the coast?
Right there.
Right
on. So you are.
Yeah, the cabins are just almost over the fjord, so you don't see the ground, you just see right out to the fjord.
Two of the cabins have a jacuzzi and one have a sauna. So some crazy people, they sit in the jacuzzi and then they go jump in the sea, which is freezing.
Oh, you'd come out pretty quick again, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah. It's that cold. It's really cold.
Yeah. See, I love swimming in the sea, but when I start thinking about all the things that might be underneath, like that you can't see, it starts to freak me out a little bit. It's because I watched a documentary about a Greenland shark once, and ever since then it's freaked me out. They're big, scary looking things, but they've got no teeth. But still,
right.
I'm not taking any chances. Yes. I'm not a big fan of crabs either. They're just a bit weird looking, all the extra legs. So as much as I like swimming in the sea, just all the spare ones. They don't need the spare ones.
What's wrong with 2 legs? Why do you need 6?
I know, right? Exactly. It's just,
6 legs and claws.
And claws, yeah, exactly.
They can't even walk forward. They have to walk
the eye things.
The eye things. Yeah, okay.
Little eye things. Yeah. It's just like all the spare bits left over that they just combine to make a creature. Not a fan.
No. I'm going to remember. I'm going to mention Jeremy's herring, because it's twice he's popped up that herring are popular animals in Norway. So the fish, the herring, not the heron.
Herring. Yeah.
He's saying fin, humpbacks, and orcas come in close to land because they're chasing herrings.
Oh,
to eat.
yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's the difference between the Norwegian orcas and the ones further north or west, I think, because they hunt seals, but the orcas in Norway, they hunt herrings. That's true. They circle around them and chase them up towards the surface, and then they go in and smack them unconscious, and then they eat them. A really interesting hunting method they have.
Wow.
They're so clever though, orca, aren't they? Because they all kind of work together and hunt things down.
I see Andrew Collins said that he was chatting with me at the airport.
Yeah.
I gave him a miniature. I remember that. Hi, Andrew. Nice to have you on board.
He says he still has to try it.
Yeah, you need to try it. Don't collect, drink. That's for sure.
Absolutely. That's. I think I said last week that the only collection I have complete is the Glengarry Renaissance range.
I approve of that. I don't even have that.
What about the Game of Thrones series? Was that popular collectibles?
I have the DVD set. Yeah, the complete.
For the whiskeys.
They were for a bit, and then they just kind of bought it. But I think there was a whole marketing thing.
Yeah. I think it was when they released like the second wave of it. Like people bought into like the first kind of series of the characters and the different houses, and then I think you were kind of led to believe it was quite limited, and then they just released a whole nother version of it. I think
come out. Yeah.
I mean, if you could have bought originally, you could have bought the whole collection for about 500, maybe a little under 500 for the 12 or wherever bottles, but then people were buying it for 1,300-1,500 immediately after that sold out kind of came along, and then they released it again, so it's available, and latterly the bottles have been going for half price. Just people have just been trying to get rid of them. That was a bit of a, I mean, we've championed Diageo tonight, but that was the dark side of the industry there. The marketing side can often leave you wanting.
I think that's probably like the sort of. Go on.
No, I heard that about the Game of Thrones. It just flooded the market with it, and the price just went boom, like that.
Yeah. I know what happened after the last season. It flopped because the last
nobody
season,
wanted it.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, you're kind of riding off the success of a TV show that's popular for maybe a couple of years, and then when that ends, like if that's it, it gets kind of forgotten about. Nobody's really going to go back and rewatch the whole of Game of Thrones.
Do you think the way it ended? What disappointed people? Do you think the way the series ended disappointed people?
That was rubbish. Have you seen Vikings?
I love
the first season. Yeah, the first season I've seen. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all good all the way until Ragnar Lothbrok dies.
Yes.
After that, it's rubbish.
He died? Oh, well, I don't have to watch it.
Sorry.
100% agree. I lost interest in it after Ragnar died. I was like,
after that was just rubbish.
I do love Lagertub, but I was like,
yeah.
And then and then like some of the characters were like a little bit kind of meh. So I kind of gave up.
Floki is also, he keeps it. He keeps it up. That's for sure. He is such a complex character.
I got really into trying to put big plaits in my hair after like becoming obsessed by Lagertha for a while, but I've just got far too much hair and far too little arms to make that work. So I gave up with that.
So you're gonna have to tell me which series he dies in, so we can put a spoiler alert on at the start of the show. Don't watch
it's
past
like
1 hour 50 minutes if you haven't seen Vikings season 8.
I know we should have put on a big spoiler alert for everyone that hasn't seen it, but yeah, all the main characters always die. It's not a big surprise.
Yeah,
all the good ones die. Well, as long as nobody dies before the end of the Blether, we'll be fine. But don't want to get out before the end. I'm just conscious of the time. I'm going to have to be rude and head away in 5 minutes because I've got to go and get my son from work. So
I was just about to say, Kat, that's probably a good time for us to talking of disappointing endings. We're probably going to have to disappoint people and end.
Yeah.
But guys, all the best. Just quickly, I mean, what's the future? You talked briefly about maybe getting up to 70,000 liters a year production wise. What are the kind of what's the aim now for Bifrost? Is the Yggdrasil is that rounding off the 9 Worlds series? Kind of what's next?
Yeah, I'll let Tor Petter. Do you want to go for it?
Yeah, I mean the Yggdrasil is going to be kind of our core brand, the main brand going forward. So we're going to have one big release every year in May, but we are going to launch other series as well. That's the beauty of the direction we chose for our branding, is that you can go in all sorts of directions with Norse mythology. There are so many characters, there are so many stories. I mean, there are people who genuinely believe in the old mythology and live by the rules. So there's so many ways we can go. So we are going to release limited series in between, starting with the first series coming this autumn. But we are also going to release something really out of the blue. Jeremy asked, tell us a name, and I'm going to reveal it to you guys, and we're going to release a Loki series. Loki is he's kind of a very complex character in Norse mythology. Some in modern terms, he's been named a trickster. But the thing about Loki is that he turns up suddenly. He just comes out of nowhere. And that's what's going to happen with the Loki series. The series in the fall, next fall, is going to be called the Aesirs. And that's going to be gods like Thor, Heimdall, Odin, Frey, Frigg, whatever. So we're going to do some really cool and interesting stuff. And we're going to have some really nice surprises. And for those who are interested in this, I can give you one big tip, and that is to get in the Facebook group called Friends of Bifrost. Friends of Bifrost, because a lot of stuff is going to happen there.
I'm going to write that down. We'll do that. That's exciting.
Yeah,
so we just got a world experience there in the Blether. Well, you heard it here first, guys.
Indeed. Yes.
We thought very hard on that marketing, and it's our marketing manager. She is just a genius. Her name is Ingjerd. You should bring her on sometime. She is really 100%. Creative and skilled. Yeah, super proud of her.
No, awesome. Definitely.
Yeah, we'll do that. If you can pass on, maybe afterwards, pass on contact details, it would be great too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Definitely, especially
so guys, just pop the link on the chats for you to, and that'll take you to the Friends of Bifrost.
Yeah.
And you can follow, you can join.
Yeah.
And so well, that sound. I mean, next year sounds very exciting. Just wish you all the best for the rest of the Yggdrasil launch. I'm sure it's going to go phenomenal. My feedback is excellent. I really enjoyed it. I don't know if you've noticed, I've poured quite a few more since.
It's dangerous.
It is. It's so drinkable. I love the Midgard as well. The quality's there, guys. You've nailed that. So well done. Absolutely super. Yes, thank you so much for giving up your time. Jeremy has said something I'm not going to pronounce on the chat, so maybe Tor, you could. It's
very exciting, and he thanks us a lot for this evening. Do some talk, Jeremy.
Oh. It is very exciting. I can't wait to see what you guys get up to next year, and you guys are always welcome on whenever for a chat, for a blether, and let us know when you find a good Norwegian word for it also.
We will definitely.
After the show, grab a bottle of whiskey, jump in the jacuzzi, and don't get out until you've got that word.
Yeah, it could be definitely about 3 a.m, I think.
Charlie, it was lovely to have you on as well. She's hopefully we can catch up on Saturday. So Charlie's got some exciting news about her own blend, working with Woven, which is so cool. Yeah. So we have a virtual tasting with Woven on Saturday night through the shop. So hopefully, Charlie, you can still join us. Then I'll send you the link to join in. Just before we go, guys, Kat, what's the story for next week?
We have got Finn Thompson next week. And
are you sure? You don't look sure.
We do. Yes, that's who we've got next week. So yeah, tune in for that. And it's going to be the last one of the year, guys. This is going to be it. We're going to be stopping for the festive period. So yeah, join us next week for the final Blether 2024.
Final Blether of the year. I can't believe we're at that stage now that it's going to be. Then it's crazy. So yeah, for the guys at home, come up with your. Sorry, Kat.
Come up with some good questions for us for next week. We'll do an Ask Mike Anything.
Okay. Yeah, go for it. But when we're talking whiskies of the year, we're going to be talking what's be your favorite kind of brand stories and things like that. So how will we think for next week what your favorite whiskies of the year are? Tor, Colin, thank you so much for giving your time up tonight. It's been absolutely fantastic.
Great.
And
Great stuff.
Thank you. It's been cool.
have a
You
great
always-
Christmas.
Yeah, and you.
I'm sure we'll talk to you before then, but yeah, anytime you're over in Scotland again, Tor, give us a shout. I'd love to catch up in person. Share a
Yeah,
dram.
I'm coming in June, actually. I'm driving around 1 week with my wife and in Collins Morgan, actually. So I'll probably drop by.
Please
Come
do.
into the
Please do.
distillery. Come and have a look around the distillery as well. We'll come and show you around.
I will,
Yeah.
definitely.
And you, of course, Colin, you're welcome. Anytime you're down from the Highlands, come and pass.
Thanks very much. Yeah. Come across. Yeah. That was good. Thanks. Great.
Thank you very much, everyone. Skål. Cheers.
Yeah. Bye.
Cheers. Skål.
Bye.
Skål.
Good night.